Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Estate with Ryan. So excited to be with you on a Saturday. A blizzard coming. East Tennessee weather. It's going to be Arctic freeze. Hope you're staying home, staying warm. But thank you for listening to Real Estate with Ryan. So glad to have you on the radio, talking a little real estate. It's going to be a crazy weekend. A lot of things are canceled. Snow's on the way, ice on the way. If you went shopping, the shelves are empty. It's that time. It's that time. Normally we say, a little snow, everybody, the bread's gone, and it's a little bit of a panic. But now, got a state emergency. Who knows what's going to happen? And so, rightfully so. Luckily, we made it to the grocery store. But I hope everybody's staying warm. No, we're off to a strong start in 2026. It's hard to say that. 2026. That's just crazy. 2026 is off strong. The housing market is right behind it. Interest rates to a 3-year low. So we'll talk about that. I felt like it was a good topic. The real estate market's a little cold, a little chilly here this weekend. We'll talk about the winter freeze in East Tennessee, what buyers and sellers need to know. I know we're going around some of our properties now and making sure they're checked. I hope you're checking your properties. Check on your seniors during this time. Very, very important. Friends, family, anything you can do there to be good neighbors and check on each other if we do get the ice and everything like that. So let's get going before we start talking about the winter freeze and everybody staying warm. Let's talk about a little congrats. We've got some new listings that we recently just took. 1205 Parkview Vista Way in Pigeon Forge. Beautiful cabin there. Brand new listing. Should be live Monday, Tuesday. West Jackson Avenue, condo downtown. Unit 101. Beautiful condo. Actually has a garage, which is rare downtown. So it's got its own little parking there. Private entrance in the back. So make sure you check that property out. 526 Old Middlesboro Highway out in La Follette. That's coming soon. It's got 2 properties on it. It's got a home for mom, and then it's got a older, I think built in the 1900s, 2-story, which is in great condition. Make sure you check that property out. Congrats to our sellers. Condo on 206 Timber Lodge Lane. Put that under contract for them. 3131 Cherokee Valley Drive, going under contract. Congrats there. Then 307 McMaster's Place in Maryville, just on the market less than a week. Had a lot of activities and under contract. Congrats to them. And so that's so much going on. A little congrats, a little new listings. I wanted to share a little bit about the real estate market in the Knoxville market. I know we sent out our recent newsletter. So if you're one of our clients or if you'd like to get on our newsletter, all you got to do is simply just email me. Go to my website, ryancoleman.org. We'll get you on our newsletter. We keep you up to date with everything going on in the market, specifically, the housing market. What's going on? What's the numbers? What's the sales? So I thought it would be really important. Kind of share some numbers with you, some data that just came out. We were just finishing that coming out today. But the Knoxville housing market, in comparison, let's talk about active listings. We're about 6,477, so 6,477 listings, and that's up from previous month. So inventory is on the rise just a little bit. We got 820 pending in the month of January, so that's pretty exciting. And we got a couple of days left for that, but that should change. And our solds up 489 up from December, which is good to see. Average 30-year mortgage rate is about 6.06. That's your 30-year fixed. Your FHA and your VA and some of those loans, they're actually even a little bit better than that. And then our 15-year, this is nice to see, 5.38 for a 15-year mortgage. Pretty competitive there. The Knoxville DMA, our average price listed is about $467,000. Average sold price about $450, $449. Okay. Average price per square foot, is about $220. Went to a great client, potential client. I'm going to sell her condo here in West Knoxville coming up in just a couple weeks, and we were looking at the price per square foot. We said, hey, well, the Knoxville market's about 67 days on average. Now, that may be changing as we go into this part of the year, but price per square foot, we look at that, but how important is it in today's market? I think a lot of it is kind of irrelevant, price per square foot, because what? Last year was a little bit stagnant. Rates were up higher. This is probably a more balanced year. And I think things will probably be a little bit more stronger in the housing market. Although economists and the experts are saying maybe 1.5%, 2% across the board, maybe that will increase. And so all those things are important. Let's see here. What will we talk about moving forward? So why the freeze matters? The freeze matters, obviously, stay warm. I mean, if you go outside, it's brutal. And so all those things are important moving forward. But what's important about your property? Why is that important as this big freeze is coming to East Tennessee? You know, they said that it could be back like we've seen back in the day. So I know we're in the Hardin Valley area, an Oak Ridge area, and they're saying, I saw that my wife was sending the map to me that says, don't drive, treacherous. So those are, dangerous times. So be opportunity to kind of sit back and take a little relax and spend that time. But let's talk about your property owners out there. If you own real estate on your own house, make sure you get those bibs, outside bibs, anything like that, taken care of. Obviously, if you're on a crawl space, that's important to know. Make sure that you're able to access that. Or if you have older plumbing, we've got some older property, real old. We got one of them that's in the 1900s. And so it's important that some of those don't have the insulation and things that needed. Make sure you take the appropriate steps to either keep them warm, or we put some of that little foam piping on some of our pipes. We got some exterior. Things like that are very helpful. Exterior water lines exposed. We talked about that. And so it's important. So sellers, why it's so important, especially if you have out-of-state property and you don't live here. Make sure you have family, friends, or if you have a great real estate agent, make sure they can check on that property for you. Make sure we got the heat up to at least 65, maybe 67, something like that, at least for the couple days. And if you're not on the property, a slow drip. And this is going to be big time for sellers with insurance claims coming down the pike as maybe there's a small leak, you didn't know about it. And then here in February, March, property goes under contract. We do the inspection. Oh boy, we have some leaking there. So important to check on your property after this big freeze, that to prevent, credits, inspection credits, and all those different things like that. You want to disconnect any drains outside, right? Outdoor hoses, outdoor drains. We talked about that. Everybody does these things, but, any kind of extra fuel that you can get your generators, things like that. Very, very important. They recommend 55. We're putting ours on 65 degrees. Check a crawl space, insulation, and vents. So important during this time frame. Let's talk about a little bit of real estate news. We kind of all know that, but do want to check that reminder. I literally just thought about this. We're all so busy and just checking on some of our properties. This is probably going to be a little colder than we expected. So we just want to remind everybody, if you haven't, you still probably have time to get out there and do so. Most importantly, though, check on our seniors, things going on there, because they may not be able to get out, especially if it gets icy. Okay. Why does the cold weather in the housing market, how will that affect moving forward? Obviously, in East Tennessee, we usually don't get hit too hard. But in some states across the country, the housing market is off to a sluggish start because of the weather, the snow, the impact, and things like that, that directly affects sales. It's one of those things where it's seasonality. I think this will come and pass, but the East Tennessee housing market is not expected to be too icy? That's too icy. That's not too icy. Too icy. Let's talk about some things in the real estate news I thought that was really, really important. Try to get in this before we get into the first half or close the first half. The big investors really buying up all the homes in the housing market. President Trump has slated, what does it mean for big investors in the housing market? Basically, in a short answer, Trump's executive order is to outline a multi-step process of limiting the number of homes large investors would be able to purchase. This includes encouraging agencies to promote sales to individual owner-occupants through the first look policy, recent relevant guidance on institutional ownership of single-family, and increasing oversight of these purchase and competitive grounds. I think, one of the articles I was looking at and kind of doing a little research for it, that everybody thinks it's institutional is buying up all the homes, and really on every 100 homes that are sold, there may be one that went to a large institutional buyer. But that being said, I think the news and the hype kind of gets there a little bit because investors' activity is widespread. I mean, it's not all over the place. It isn't widespread. In our area alone, we're in the Hardin Valley area. What do you see popping up? New construction everywhere. Lord have mercy. If you saw the news just the other day, we had ice in the backyard. They were chasing them down the street. I mean, it's wild. But these things come up and is affecting your local markets. Look, we got the second half coming here shortly. We're going to finish here talking about the housing market, Trump's executive order, and so much more. Stay with us with the second half of Real Estate with Ryan coming right up.
When speed matters, every second counts.
Wow, that was fast.
In real estate, speed is an advantage.
In football, speed is crucial.
In softball, speed is game-changing.
If you want your home sold fast,
Trust Ryan Coleman and his team at Hometown Realty for fast results.
Thanks, guys. Go Big Orange.
Hometown Realty is East Tennessee's #1 real estate group and a proud sponsor of the Vols.
I'm Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty. The real estate market's changing every day. You need to know your home's value in today's market. Text your home address to 290-2290 for an instant, no obligation home evaluation. That's 865-290-2290. And remember, when you're ready to sell, we have a guaranteed sale program to get you in your next home stress-free. Trust your hometown experts. We've helped thousands of people just like you. All right, we're back at it. Second half, Real Estate with Ryan. It's icy, it's cold. We're talking real estate. Hope you guys are staying warm, and thank you for tuning in. I forgot to tell you, man, if you listen to Real Estate with Ryan, you can always catch us on News Talk, 98.7, 1 o'clock. One of our great partners there. Been airing there for years, along with another great partner, Talk Radio, 92.3 FM, AM 1160, and great opportunity there to listen to us, streaming on their channels. On Talk Radio, we're on their Facebook channel, streaming live, so you'll see my beautiful face there. If you happen to see us, check us out. Show us some love there. And, of course, we're streaming Facebook, YouTube, you name it, Spotify, we got you covered. Real Estate with Ryan, trying to give you the up-to-date information. Try to have fun, man. Try to have fun on these shows. It's hard coming up with these shows on a short span. I really, I ain't gonna lie to you, I was really thinking about hitting that rerun button. I said, well, it's getting cold. Who's going to be out? But you know what? It's no shortcut to a championship, man. We got to make it happen. I couldn't miss an opportunity to be with you guys. And talking about a championship, that kind of leads into our Vol update. So drum roll, please, our 60-second Vol update. All right, so big day of the day. I had a chance to watch this last night. Lady Vols in action at home. Big win by 2 points versus the Kentucky Wildcats. I mean, what an amazing game. Great freshman Mia there doing amazing things and undefeated in the SEC. So women started off with a couple losses, and now they're getting things cooking under coach there. So looking really, really good there. Next women's home game is versus Mississippi State, and that's going to be the 29th at 6:30. Big game, big game. Men playing Auburn Tigers on the 31st at 31st. Make sure you check that out on January. End of January. We're going to end that against Auburn. Big game there. Men's football program off to a lot of recruiting starts. A lot of changing recruits. New coaches coming in. New strength coach. We've got a lot of things moving. Exciting about fall football. And here it is, only January. It's hard to believe spring's right around the corner, but it is coming. A lot of good moves. A lot of excitement in Vol Nation. Baseball, softball starting up right around the corner. That is our 60-second Vol update. Hey, reminder, we're Pump the Brakes. We still have time. If we haven't had a chance to send you to the game, both men and women's, we've got them on our social page. All you have to do is like, share, and follow. Costs nothing. It's courtesy of Hometown Realty. We love to send you to the game. Go on our social page. You get a chance to see a lot of people that we've been able to send. We love it. Keep sending your pictures. We love it. And glad you guys are having a good time. Again, Hometown Realty, proud sponsor of the Vols. Go Big Orange. So much going on, but it's that time. If you hadn't had a chance, my wife hasn't had a chance to even see the men or women play this year. So I think we're going to try to go to the Auburn game. It's going to be a big game. And hope to see you guys there. And I appreciate everybody following us on social media. Big time. So we're talking about in the first half of the show. If you're tuning in, came in and come in between, sometimes that happens. We're talking about the big freeze. Have your home ready. Won't talk all about that, but make sure you're checking your seniors. Make sure your pipes are wrapped where we need to do, but proper heat. Make sure if you're not living in the property, slow drip, right? Get all your outside spigots covered, all that good stuff. But most importantly on the real estate market, how it's going to affect us once the freeze is over. Sellers, make sure you check your property. Make sure we check all these things. And sometimes the plumbing things won't come up until after, so make sure you do a thorough inspection of everything, especially if it's an investment property. And our properties up in the Smokies, make sure you got your property management after this, checking them out, getting your videos, doing all that they're sending to you, taking care of you. So important. Let's talk about President Trump. In the first half, we were talking about the investors, and we were talking about how investor activity, how that is an executive order that's going to limit that. And he's got 30 days to come up with what is defined as a big institutional investor. But we were telling in the beginning part of the show that only of the 100 homes sold, let's say 100 homes are sold, one on average would go to an institutional investor. So, institutional investor is a broad term, and the investor obviously isn't spread across the board. They're in certain niche markets. But that being said, I was talking about it in our backyard for winter break. We've got tons of new construction in East Tennessee. And how is that affecting in our market? You've seen in the news, you've seen on social media, the ICE immigration coming through. How is that going to affect the labor market and the housing market? We've got a new townhouse complex right down the street, and literally they were chasing people throughout the area. I mean, it's tough. There's some mixed emotions on that, and so that's tough in the community. How will that affect the labor market, the housing market? New construction's going up. How about if you're remodeling as a whole? If you're remodeling as a whole or need construction help, how is this affecting prices in East Tennessee? That's something to see. It's already skyrocketed on a lot of the prices on the labor market as well, along with cost. That's where one of the biggest things we're dealing in the housing market right now is the inflation, just the cost of living, and getting that under control. I think that talking about the interest rates, though, I think another thing, let's kind of move to that. We know it's a 3-year low on the interest rates, and then an opportunity here that we've seen more in this last couple of weeks in January than we have seen in a long time. So January is, typically a slow time. Your renters and things like that, if you got cabins, that's definitely slow. Time for maintenance, things like that. But we've been busy. We're just working on another potential sale that we're putting together. So we're seeing now that almost 5.5 million more households can afford the median price. So by lowering that rate, we talked about last year sometimes, that if the interest rates come down just a little bit, it's going to open up the door for 5 or 6 million people across the country to get back into home ownership or to purchase or to move from that property at 3 or 4%. It starts making more sense under 6 or right at 6, especially with our 15-year and our low 5s, okay? Roughly 550,000 people will purchase here in the next 12 to 18 months in that price range. So, that's a good note. Also, home prices are in local inventory. That's so important that what we see in the Jacksonville, Florida market. I mean, the foreclosures are on a rise. Certain parts in Florida where foreclosures are extremely high, but we're not seeing that in East Tennessee as far as that level. So those are things that you want to look at across the board. Look at the housing market as the winter gets upon us, but hopefully we'll be out of here in a matter of time. What does that mean for sellers in today's market and buyers? Most importantly, we talk about, obviously, if the home is priced right, it's going to sell, and we're seeing that. Homes that are priced right, well-maintained, comfortable, and inviting. Or let's look at it also in the investor market. One of the biggest things that we see in the market across the country, and I talk to other agents across the country that we network with, is, in certain markets, things have changed. There's highs and lows, and obviously in the vacation markets, the short-term rentals are a strong source of income for rentals. But some of those have changed along with the affordability. So as those change, just like on our multifamily and commercial products, the values change, and they're completely tied to the income that's generated. So how has the short-term rental market impacted prices? I think we've seen that in the Sevierville and Gatlinburg market as a more challenging market, but seeing a pickup from new investors that we've seen here recently. What does it mean when buyers are looking now? Well, now more than ever, buyers have an opportunity to stretch their budget where we've not seen that in a while. And looking forward that the homes that are priced well, show well, we're actually moving, which is good to see. In the East Tennessee housing market, really, we're not seeing a price crash, major adjustments. But I do think that for the buyers that have been in the market for the last couple of years, there's more opportunities. There's more, as you say, wiggle room, right? There's a little bit more wiggle room than we've seen. Sellers are now more open. We're getting back to more of a balanced, more realistic market. With mortgage rates expected to remain stable, at least for the last, next 12 months, hopefully, I think more prepared homes will come on the market. More prepared buyers will be ready better than ever. And you'll see a lot more sales increase. So opportunity to move. We always talk about it. Why are you doing what you're doing? What's important about it? Why are you moving this year? If you're thinking about buying or selling, it's a big decision. And, if you're going to make that decision, you need your experts that you can trust. We've been doing it going on 27 years. Hard to believe that. We're hands-on and throughout the whole transaction. So if there's anything we can do for you anytime, even if it's just a question, we're always here. Make sure you give us a call. I had some people ask some questions, try to get this in before we get out. Is winter a bad time to list during the market? And actually, it's not. It's probably one of the better times to list. Some of our luxury properties, I was calling one of my sellers that was off the market, putting it back on spring. It is actually where some of our higher-end properties, January to the beginning of March, sell. Why? It's because it's less competition and we have more people looking. Everybody wants to say, well, can we wait for spring? Of course we can. But, at the same time, it's always good to get a good jump on the housing market to see what's out there and kind of get into where the prices are going to be. Well, I hope everybody's enjoyed the show. I tried to fit in as much as I could there. Hope everybody stays warm, stay safe. As always, look forward to seeing you back next weekend. Real Estate with Ryan. Have an amazing weekend. We'll see you. Take care.